الأخوات أيوب ثنائي موسيقي رائع لشقيقتين اسكتلنديتين مصريتين جمعتا تراثهما الشرقي والغربي في إطار الموسيقى الكلاسيكية. استمع لأسباب عشق لورا وسارة أيوب للموسيقى العربية، وكيف كانت رحلتهما في العزف على الآلات الكلاسيكية صعبة ومجزية في الوقت ذاته عندما أطلق ألبومهما الثاني.
Hello, Salam, and welcome to this episode of Podium and Al-Fanar's joint podcast series, which explores influential British Arabs who have contributed to British society. My name is Tony Farag. I'm a 21-year-old and I'm London born and Egyptian raised. I'm a master's television student and Oxford University graduate. Today, I'm very honored to be joined by the amazing Ayoub Sisters, a sensational multi-instrumental duo, and of course, siblings. Sarah and Laura, would you guys like to introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about you?
My name's Sarah. I am the older sibling, and I play piano and cello.
And I'm Laura. I'm the younger sibling. I play violin and piano, and together we are the Ayoub Sisters.
How did you both get into music?
I think we were quite lucky in that music was always part of our childhood. The classical radio station was always playing in the house. We were taken to concerts from a really, really young age, like really immersed up close in a concert hall environment from literally 6 months old. So I think that kind of exposure sparked our interest in it. And from kind of Sarah enrolling in lessons to myself enrolling in lessons, it just kind of developed from there, this kind of love and curiosity more than anything for the concept of sound and making sound and different instruments making sound and being in control of that and how you feel when you're making this sound. I think we were very aware of that when we were young children. And also playing together was like the most natural thing in the world, as siblings do. If you're learning an instrument at the same time, you'll end up playing together, just like if you're going to dancing or playing tennis with your brother or sister. It's very common for siblings to kind of jump on hobbies together, and that was definitely something that we did. But it wasn't until we got older and it became more of a serious part of our life that it became something that we decided was actually really worth investing time into. And I think the first time we really took active steps as a duo was back in 2015, 2016, when we first entered a competition together and decided to enter as a duo, as the Ayoub sisters, rather than Laura Ayoub and Sarah Ayoub. And that was kind of 6-7 years ago, and it's kind of just been one huge journey and learning curve since then.
Would you say that entering that competition was the moment it went from a hobby to a potential career path?
You study music, and when you're at conservatoire level, it's just, you know, practice, practice.
Refining the craft of your instrument without really too much focus on what's going to happen next.
Yeah, or how do you actually make a living or a career out of playing the violin or playing the piano?
This is a very typical Egyptian story, but I was very close to doing medicine. Dangerously close, might I say, following in my dad's footsteps. He is, of course, a doctor. Max Fax is his specialty, and I loved biology and chemistry at school. I was pretty good at it, and I got my A's and everything that I needed in order to do medicine. And he was kind of like, right, she's gonna follow in my footsteps. She's gonna be a doctor. And he did a really good job of trying to convince me and pulling strings to get me work experience in all the hospitals in Glasgow and all of that. And I was very, very close to doing it. But I applied and auditioned for music conservatoires before applying for universities, because those auditions happen earlier. And when I got offered a place to study at the Royal College of Music, I knew there and then the fact that they even wanted me, like this amazing institution that's ranked like number 2 in the world, and this place that I'd always looked up to, they actually wanted me. And I thought, no, I have to see this through. So I decided not to go for medicine in the end.
One of you spoke about having a massive audience on a show and finding it sometimes quite nervy, but finding comfort in seeing your sister across the stage smiling at you or making eye contact with you while performing. Would you say that's one of the biggest benefits of working with someone you love, and it's obviously your sister?
If you're on your own, I don't know how soloists do it or solo artists, when you just don't have that other person to just at least look at or at least raise an eyebrow and they know, oh, something's not right, or I know how you feel, or I feel the same way.
But not even on the stage, like
Off the
the
stage,
before, and
behind the
actually more
scenes.
crucially the after. Like sometimes the after of a concert can be really like you can go from such a high to then just like it's all done and it's all over, and you can get to a serious low, and being totally on your own, like that's really really hard.
Yeah, it can be very isolating and lonely, and you can have all the best friends in the world, but they won't totally understand or get it because they're not in it with you.
Would you say there's one performance or thing you've done which was by far the most like nerve-wracking?
Yeah, the Royal Albert Hall sits 5,000 people.
Yeah.
The concert we did was live on the radio, and it was our first time playing any of our arrangements that we'd written for orchestra. So it was our first time hearing stuff that we'd written, our first time kind of performing as a duo, as soloists with an orchestra. There was just loads of firsts that were happening all at the same time in a very kind of high pressure environment. And I was still a student. I was still learning how to play.
Yeah, technically you had a class the next day to tell you how to play the violin. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure riding on it, and a lot that you have to prove yourself and prove to your colleagues who aren't on that stage, or your teacher who's still teaching you.
Yeah.
So these little pressures and little things that go on inside your head behind the scenes.
What else do you love about what you do?
What I love about what we do is taking source of musical inspiration from all aspects of our life, and actually most recently the source of inspiration has been our Arabic heritage, and it's something that's always been important to us because we've always felt very Egyptian. Like we grew up in Scotland in the depths of Glasgow, but we are so Egyptian, and we like owe that to our parents for kind of preserving that part of our culture so well, and making a point of taking us to Egypt every year and immersing us in that culture and showing us Arabic music and all of this kind of thing. And we kind of turned to each other last year and said, I think it's about time we sit down and actually pay tribute to this amazing heritage of ours through what we do, which is creating music, and kind of writing this album, which is completely dedicated towards Arabic music, has been so fulfilling and satisfying because of that exact thing. It's like we're finally kind of paying tribute to this amazing civilization and culture that we feel so strongly attached to, even though we haven't lived there. But we've been and spent many stretches of time there, and we feel so connected to the people, to the humor, to the food,
the smells,
to the music, to the art, to the culture. Everything about it we really strongly identify with, and the fact that we're able in our job to kind of show our love and appreciation for our culture, like that's like how many people can say that? Like that's so cool.
And hopefully introducing that to a brand new audience. So
absolutely,
this album is dedicated to Arabic music from across Egypt, Lebanon, Algeria, Tunisia, but the sonic identity, the sound world, has a classical spin on it. So you've got a string orchestra, you've still got the cello and the violin in the forefront, but we've got the oriental percussion, and we've got some oriental singing, and we've got the qanun. So we're hoping that actually we can showcase this to a Western audience who possibly have never visited Egypt, they've never listened to Arabic music, but can think, wow, this is cool, and I want to learn more, I want to listen to more. So that is what our hope is, because we are huge fans. Obviously, we're biased, we are Egyptian, we're very proud, but we want to show everyone, like, wow, look what this civilization has to offer.
So what kind of inspirations from the Middle East have you guys looked up to or sought inspiration or encouragement from?
In terms of inspiration, I mean, Egypt as a country is full of inspiration. Like every time we go, even just like looking at the architecture and just like if you go there and you have your eyes open, you will be inspired in every corner of the room that you're in or the streets that you're walking down. There have been so many inspiring kind of figures in history, Egyptian figures, Kulthum, for example. There are present figures that are making huge waves in the Egyptian scene, like Fatma Said, like Joseph Tawadros, musicians that we look up to, and actually the friends of ours that are really flying the flag high and showing how much wealth of talent there is, especially in music. And then there's other examples, obviously, in the arts and culture and acting. We've got all of the Ramis that are showing just how talented we are as a group of individuals from the Arab world. There's so many success stories that we can all be so proud of and hopefully seek inspiration from. And hopefully we can be that for young instrumentalists out there as well. I know the concept of music and playing an instrument is not necessarily the most kind of common or celebrated concept, because it is definitely a luxury, and there are kind of schools of thought that it's not necessary and you should be keeping your nose in the books and all this kind of way of looking at the arts. I'm very much aware that is something that people think about, and I think we're lucky that our parents weren't like that, and they were very much encouraging of dedicating time that could have been spent towards studying or reading textbooks, playing an instrument, and acknowledging that that was something worth spending your time on. That is not necessarily how everybody thinks and feels from the culture that we are from, but hopefully the fact that we have made some form of success from it is slowly changing the perception that actually spending time towards learning an instrument is not a waste of time. And we're not trying to create another generation of kind of musician, like that's not actually what it's about. There's so many cognitive benefits that you can have from training yourself to play an instrument to a high standard, to play music with other people, to learn how to just listen and follow and lead and memorize, and like there's no shortage of benefits, and if there's any way that what we're doing is help to break that stereotype that this is a waste of time or it's haram or mushafa'i, then we've definitely done our job.
How do you hope your work inspires young British Arabs who come across some of your music?
I hope it inspires parents. We thank our parents for kind of the experiences that we were exposed to as youngsters, and them giving us that kind of flexibility and freedom to pursue what was definitely like a wild card of a decision, because it was never done in our family, and in our culture, as we said before, it's rarely done. But they gave us the kind of free rein to just kind of go for it. And we hope that can inspire parents to do the same with youngsters, and inspire youngsters to pick up an instrument and just explore something, even if it's not music, anything that they're passionate about, whether it's dance, drama, sport. Mo Salah, he's a success story. So that kind of open-mindedness, we hope that it can inspire, the next generation of Arab youngsters.
I want to talk about gender barriers specifically in our culture, and how that might prevent or discourage young girls and women from getting into music. Do you think you've ever felt pressures? What's been your experience of being young Middle Eastern women?
هتتجوزي? That's the question we get the most, or عايزين نفرح بيكي. That's the one that we get a lot, and I'm like, you guys should be really farhaneen. Have you heard our second album? So that's my reaction to those questions, because obviously in our culture, women grow up to become wives and then mothers. That is kind of the rite of passage, which is a lovely rite of passage. But currently for us, our rite of passage is the second album. and then if we get lucky on the way, then great. But it's career versus family And why is it versus? It could be the same thing. But yeah, women should be celebrated and they should be encouraged to pursue careers and passions, and absolutely. And I think a lot more is happening now in that respect.
Yeah.
I mean, times are changing, even in, if you look at the West and how women have been treated in the workplace, or their positions in the workplace, or how much they're getting paid in terms of comparing them to their senior counterparts that are male. So these are conversations that are definitely being had now.
As young British Arabs yourselves, how do you feel you have contributed to society, perhaps through your work?
I feel like our greatest contribution to society is about to happen, which is the release of this new album, which, I mean, my biggest hope for it is not just to give the Arab listeners something to be proud of and enjoy, but more so, I want to be showing everybody else how amazing this music is, Arabic music, and kind of welcoming them into this world. I literally want to open the doors and say, welcome, join in the party, and hopefully feel inspired to even visit the country or try the food, or you know, like, just, we feel so strongly that this is an amazing culture and we're so lucky to be from this amazing place. But for those who haven't visited, who haven't listened to the music or tried the food or understand the sense of humor or the culture, like, this is our contribution to showing you just a tiny taste of what it's like. And if we are able to do that and able to intrigue a Westerner into this style of music, like, I would be very proud to say that I've contributed to welcoming another kind of demographic and culture into our Arab world.
Thank you so much. Alf shukr.
Thank you.
سلام.
نشأت سارة ولارا أيوب في غلاسكو بمنزل كانت الموسيقى وخاصة الموسيقى العربية تصلح باستمرار في جنباته. وعوضاً عن اختيار مسار وظيفي تقليدي، بدأت الشقيقتان العزف على الآلات الموسيقية، وحظية بدعم وتشجيع والديهما لأخذ الأمر على محمل الجد. الآن يمكن للشقيقتين القول بفخر أنهما عزفتا الموسيقى في قاعة ألبرت الملكية رويال ألبرت هول في لندن، واطلقتا ألبومهما الثاني. تقول الشقيقتان إن للوقت الذي تقضيانه في وطنهما الأم مصر ونشأتهما في اسكتلندا تأثير كبير على عملهما، وتعبران عن أملهما في نشر شغفهما بالثقافة العربية في المجتمعات الغربية. هذا البودكاست إنتاج مشترك بين الفنار للإعلام وبوديوم.me بتمويل من منحة المعهد الدولي للصحافة IPI. نشكر توني فرج والأختين أيوب لمشاركتهم في هذه الحلقة.